First, a massive thank you to everyone for attending this session. I appreciate our world tour. There is so much content. We really appreciate you making the time for this. And let me assure you, you are in the absolute right seat, because we're going to hear directly from one of our amazing customers, Pandora, about how they're progressing with their AI journey, and also hear how to get started from Franny and Mandeep in our team. But first, it's my job to set the scene, because all good stories start with a scene. And it's simple. Workforces are overwhelmed. We have been saying, do more with less for such a long time now. Our teams are simply burnt out. We're seeing stalled productivity. We're seeing tasks left incomplete. We're even seeing customer requests, customer questions left unresponded to. And in parallel to this, our customers really expect more. We all know, we've all been there. We expect fast service, we expect it delivered quickly, and we expect it delivered with empathy. And flexing to these business requirements, these ever-changing priorities, it's difficult. And we know that 41% of employee time is spent on low-value and very repetitive tasks. So we have to ask ourselves the big questions. What if our businesses had no limits? What if you had an unlimited workforce? What if you could onboard 100, 1,000 interns to run through some of that low-value work? Or scale to meet some of those peak requirements? Or even, really get going like a startup would? Well, at Salesforce, we're already on this journey, and we're calling it Agentforce. Anyone heard of that? Well, hopefully you all have. I'm sure you've heard about it a lot today. And really, Agentforce is our platform. It's our first step into really leveraging the digital labor revolution. It's our new layer to really unlock this unlimited workforce and take advantage of autonomous agents that can take action to improve engagement with your customers and meet these customer needs. It's our way of deploying out-of-the-box agents for any role or any industry and connecting these via API, code, to really make sure we can leverage enterprise data and ground these agents in your business context. And all of this is powered by our Atlas reasoning engine. Now, it's been a bit of a journey, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with these technologies. And a little fun fact, chatbots have actually been around since 1960. That's over 60 years. And we've all used them. I'm pretty sure everyone's had a chatbot experience. But the limitations really are that with chatbots, it's very fixed in terms of the questions you can ask, the responses you're going to get. You have to configure these, and you have to anticipate every single customer question, which is nearly impossible. And as a result, I'm pretty sure we can all vouch for the fact that we've had a bad experience or our customer has been left with further questions when we're using chatbots. We've also started using copilots. Hopefully everyone here has used a copilot. And these are great. They're assistive, right? But they're unable to take actions. They're unable to work on our behalf and really make sure that kind of actions and follow-ups happen. And that's why we at Salesforce are really empowering the kind of agentic AI movement to make sure that we can leverage Agentforce to take on board and automate a lot of these tasks. We want to make sure that it can take the right actions, that it can scale across our organization, and that it really understands your business. And this isn't just within your CRM system. We know that agents will scale across your whole organization, and we want to make sure that we're ready. Think about refunds via SAP. Think about onboarding employees through Workday. We want to make sure that Agentforce can take action across any workflow. And the great news is that this is already within a platform that you know and hopefully love. Because Agentforce is grounded in our Customer 360. So it means that we can produce agents for our front end. Think sales, think service, think marketing, think commerce. And this is really, really grounded in all of your company data so that we can take actions and build towards that limitless workforce. Now, I think it's a highly spoken about and a very intellectually debated topic around agentic AI and it replacing workforces. And that is absolutely not our message here. We want to make sure that humans can work alongside agents, giving the right level of oversight to really make sure that we can empower our organizations to take the right level of action. We want to really empower this limitless growth. And we at Salesforce, we are the proof. We are already an Agentforce first company. If you go on to help.salesforce.com, you will already see that we have over 30,000 conversations handled weekly by one of our agents. This is powered by over 700,000 knowledge articles. That's huge. And it means that now over 80% of our conversations are managed and deflected by an agent already. We have also empowered over 25,000 sellers using our sales coach to help manage objections, respond faster, make sure that their corporate messaging is on point. And we're really proud that we have so many customers joining us on this journey. And we'll get to hear from one of those just in due course. But first, I'm really excited to hand over to Franny and Mandeep to share with us a little bit more about getting started on this journey.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Franny. I lead the EMEA team of AI Architect. And today at the demo station, we have Mandeep, who is our principal technical architect from the data and AI team. So we talked about humans and agents working together. We know trust is super important. So as you start your agentic journey and you're starting to build this agentic layer to transform your business, we know you have concerns. We know there are risks. As a matter of fact, if you look at studies and surveys, inaccuracy continues to be the top challenge that every company is working really hard to address because it's a serious risk. And that's the main reason, if you ask most employees and customers, they will probably still tell you they don't think Gen AI is quite trustworthy yet, right? So what do we do about that? The good news is, and this is an independent study, right? If you build your agentic transformation on a trusted platform like Agentforce, you see a lot of benefits that you see on the screen here. But on the bottom, I hope you notice there is a significant increase in accuracy, right? It looks almost magical. And so I want to unpack how we actually do this on our platform. But I wanted to also note the other benefits like quicker to market, faster to value. But when you start to design your agentic transformation, it isn't just about quickly configuring an agent. We're learning from experience. It's very quickly to spin up an agent. But a lot of the work and thought goes into testing and monitoring, right? So that's why I want to bring your awareness to this end-to-end development lifecycle of your agent. So in order to improve trust and accuracy, you want to start thinking about, as I'm designing my agents, what trust guardrails do I need? What are some of the trust features and trust models I can leverage, right, from this platform? And after you've done that, you really want to test the hell out of your agent system, right? You want to have a robust testing framework. You want to have comprehensive coverage of testing cases. And that's why today, we want to show you some cool tools that you already have as part of the Agentforce platform. So as you're designing your agent, right, you can use AI Assist. By describing what your agent needs to do, it can create a lot of guardrail upfront for you to iterate on. So you're not starting from scratch, because we know humans, we're much better at critiquing than starting from scratch. So if agent or AI created a lot of the guardrails for you, it's a lot easier for you to refine that. Testing, as we know from having implemented a lot of these projects, is the most time-consuming part, right? So how do we do testing at scale? And so I'm going to hand over now to Mandeep to show you Testing Center.
Thank you, Franny. So here I am in my Agentforce builder. I have a number of different topics available, and the goal for this agent is really to help customers with order inquiries, deal with delivery issues, and any case management and FAQs. Now, before I get this agent into production, we of course want to be able to test each and every topic. So let's go ahead and do that. First thing I'm going to do is test my order inquiries topic. So I'm going to ask the agent what the status of my order is. Now what's happening here is the agent is reasoning. So it's going to select the right topic. We have a number of instructions that tell the agent what to do, and then finally what actions to execute. Before we go any further, the agent is now asking me for my email address, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
And that's part of the guardrail we talked about earlier, right? You want to design that upfront.
That's right. Now when I've provided my email address, the agent has verified who I am, and it's giving me a order confirmation. And I'm just going to zoom in slightly so you can see what's happened. Okay. Now, this is all well and good, but as my business grows and as I scale, how do I go about testing everything, right? It's not feasible for me to test each and every topic. You think about the question I asked here. What is the status of my order? There are multiple variations of this question a customer can ask. So what we want to do is be able to test and automate these tests and obviously test at scale. And this is where the AI Agentforce Testing Center comes into play. So to show you what that process looks like, I'm going to open the testing center and create a test. And rather creatively, I'll give it a name called test 001. Let's call it _1 for the sake of it. I've got the option to add any context variables. I'm not going to go ahead and do that in my case. Now, this is really interesting because I can use generative AI to help me define my test cases, right? So we're using AI to help us in the flow of work. I'm going to select 5 test cases for now.
Is there a limit as to how many test cases I can create?
Absolutely not. It's entirely up to you and your business as to how many test cases you can create. So I'm going to select 5 because this is just a demo. And remember that the topic I was selecting earlier was called order inquiries. So that's all I'm going to do for now. The next page is where I set my evaluations. So what am I testing this agent for? In my case, I want to make sure the right topic is selected and the right action has been selected as well. And then finally, I want to make sure that my response includes all the necessary information it needs to be completed. And of course, I can test for other things like coherency and latency, but I'm going to go ahead and not do that for now. And in a few moments, what happens is Testing Center, through the help of generative AI, will help us generate these test cases. Now, this process usually takes 30 seconds or so. So in the quest for expediency, I've already gone ahead and created a test case earlier. So there's a number of different things you can see on this screen. First of all, you can see all the different utterances that generative AI has helped me develop. I can also see the expected topic, the actual topic, and likewise the expected actions and the actual actions.
So I can see that there's some failures on the screen.
Yeah.
What do I do as a next step?
Great question, Franny. So what does a failure indicate? It may be something where I need to go back to my agent and actually refine some of these instructions. But this is where Gen AI can help you even further. So we have tools like AI Assist, which will really help you really define that instruction to be very precise, to make sure that the topic and the instructions are hit as and when they need to.
So again, we're refining what AI has created for us instead of starting from scratch. Now, another question for you. As an organization, I have already developed a lot of test cases on different systems. I love how easy it is to use the testing center. Can I actually bring my test cases here as well?
Absolutely.
Can you show me?
Yeah.
We have to put into the test.
That's why I'm here. So we know as a business that you know your test cases and you understand your topics really well. So we give you the option to upload your own test cases. So very similar process to what I did previously. I'm going to call it test manual. Again, I don't need any context variables. I'm simply repeating what I did previously. However, now I've got the option to upload my own test cases, right? So this is a CSV file, and we give you a template to help you design and format these test cases. But essentially, these are just a bunch of utterances that you've created. And once I've done that, it's a very similar process to what I was showing you previously. I select my topic and action assertions. I'm testing for completeness, and I hit save and run. And the same process you saw previously is going to happen now with my test cases manually being uploaded.
Thank you. So let's just quickly sum up what we saw, right? You saw in the testing center, you're able to validate the quality of your agent with confidence. What we saw was that we were able to use AI to generate synthetic data because we as human beings can't think of all the possible variations that other people might ask or express the same intent, right? So we use the AI assist as a jump starting point. And then you saw, though, what some of the neat things were. We have out-of-the-box evaluation metrics that help you evaluate how your agent is doing. And in some cases, we saw failures, and that's how we can continue to refine our instructions, right? And even maybe build out, better test cases. And there are additional reports and KPIs that can really help you compare different test runs. So now that we have thoroughly designed and tested our agent, I know it's easier said than done, but there are tools to help you with that. Let's think about how we're going to deploy our agent, right, to create that agentic experience that's more personalized, more just in time, right, more helpful with insights. So we know that you have a lot of workflows and apps, and in many cases, you'll probably agree with me that these are disconnected, right, and they're inefficient. So what if we could bring our agent to our workflows? And what I mean by that, right, think about your flows and Apex and APIs. What if we can connect these agents to these workflows so that when you're inside of Salesforce, for example, you can have an event-driven, proactive agent experience, right? That's connected to your data. So as your data changes, your agent can take action. But not everything happens in Salesforce. We understand that. You might have really unique customer experience in your apps, in your web pages, but you want to leverage the same agent that you've configured in Agentforce. And you can do that with Agentforce API. And that allows you to embed Agentforce across your entire business. And I'm going to, again, ask Mandeep to do a deep dive on how you could do that and what that experience looks like.
Great, thank you, Franny. So just to set the context for this demo scenario, so we have a customer. The customer is running a food delivery application. They have their own interface, which their customers use. They want to keep that interface, but they also want to use Agentforce in the background. Now, as a customer of this platform, I've placed an order for food delivery. And as you would in any standard food delivery, I have an email confirmation with what I've ordered and a bunch of actions here where I can interact with. So for example, if I wanted to modify my order, change my address, or update my payment method, or cancel my order. Now, what I'm going to do here is actually update my payment method. Great. So this is a front-end platform that the customer uses or the customer's customers are familiar with, and this is going to stay. Now, what I'm looking to do here is update the payment method for my order. Again, it's going to ask me for a confirmation. So Franny spoke earlier about guardrails, right? This is what we're doing with the guardrails. Now, I'm going to provide it an email address, and I'm going to give a confirmation number that this is who I am. What's happening in the background is the agent is looking to verify who I am based on the information I've provided. Okay, so there you go. It's done the verification step, and now it's given me my default card details. What I want to do in this case is update my Amex card. I'm going to set the expiration date to the 12th of the 12th, and I've also stated that this is not going to be my default payment. Let's go ahead and submit that action. Now the agent will once again verify what I've done, and it's come back with a confirmation saying the payment method has been updated. And just to see if this has actually gone through, we go into our Salesforce platform, and in my contact record, under my related tab, you can see I have the two different payment options. So I have my Amex card and my Visa card, and you can see that's been updated to the 12th of the 12th. Okay, and just to verify this change happened now, you can see the change happened at 1:19, so just 1 minute ago, right? So this is what we talk about agentic API. So we're using a customer's front-end application interacting with Agentforce in the background. How does that happen? Very straightforward process. If I go into my agent setup details, we essentially have to deploy a connection so that the agent can talk to the external app. And this is simply done over API using a connected application.
Love this. So this is how we can connect your agent to an external experience that you've created. What if, can we actually invoke the agent inside of Salesforce from a Lightning Web Component or flow? Can you show us how that works?
Absolutely. It's a very common requirement from our customers, right? So being able to invoke an API or an agent through the Salesforce platform. Now, what you're seeing here is an onboarding application, right? So it's a custom app built on Salesforce. The goal of this application is to help an agent or a custom service rep with onboarding applications. Now, what I'm going to do here is change a record. So this record is called analysis type, and I'll just zoom in so you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to change that to AI analysis and hit save. So what's happening in the background? Let me quickly show you. This is essentially triggering a flow. So we have this notion of a record-triggered flow that Franny was talking about. And if I go into my flow record, you can see that it's looking for this field called analysis type. And every time that value equals AI analysis, it's calling an agent action in the background. And these are my agent actions. So what I've done is through natural language, I've specified what agent I need to invoke. I've given it a bunch of instructions and what to do once that action is invoked. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle is simply updating another record once the agent is completed. So if I go back to my onboarding application, hit refresh, you can see that this field here called AI-generated analysis has been populated based on the information that was in that record by Agentforce.
Thank you,
Franny,
Mati.
over to you.
Isn't that pretty powerful? So again, a quick recap, right? We were able to actually invoke our agent from an external app, but also trigger the agent based on events that are happening and have a proactive agent. And this is how you're able to really, like I said, build once, deploy everywhere. You can extend even beyond that, right? Not just the API, not just the invocable actions, but also MuleSoft and many more. But let's actually bring it back to how our customers are actually leveraging everything we've showed you so far to kind of build that agentic layer we talked about to transform their business. So I'm going to hand it back to Georgina.
Amazing. Big round of applause for Franny and Mandeep, everyone. Amazing. So it's my pleasure to please welcome to the stage Katerina Miranda from Pandora. Big round of applause. Katerina, thank you so much for joining us here at London World Tour. I've been super excited about this all week. I even put on my Pandora bracelet this morning, ready to go. So look, to kick things off, it would be great if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Pandora, your vision for AI, and really how it fits into your core business as a retail business.
Definitely. So first of all, thank you so much for the exciting opportunity to be here speaking about Agentforce and AI as a first order of business this time. So my name is Katerina Miranda and I'm the AI director at Pandora. And answering to your question, the way Pandora is actually investing in AI is not as a typical technology, as a true strategic enabler. And we are doing this in a bi-directional manner. So what we are doing is actually providing access broadly to all the teams at Pandora to AI tools, such as Agentforce, and investing quite a lot in literacy. And on back of that, what is happening right now is actually that the teams are not only becoming more efficient, but they are driving themselves quite a lot on the customer experience enhancement.
Amazing. No, thank you so much for sharing with us. And I guess one of the key challenges, thinking about Pandora specifically, obviously, is you have such an amazing range of products, of jewelry, of charms. How can you really get across the unique quality of these pieces by leveraging AI? And kind of how is AI helping you address this challenge, especially with kind of, a lot of purchases happening online and with e-commerce?
Yes. So you touched one of the biggest drivers for the use of AI at Pandora. That is the sales component. We have a massive amount of products, and these products rely quite a lot on storytelling, on their characteristics, on their qualities. And when we go into the store, it's quite easy for our great sales assistants to connect with the person, ask the questions, get to know exactly what drives them there. Oh, I want a gift for my mother. She likes ballet. But every culture will associate ballet with something different, and they can actually create that emotional connection. But it's quite hard to do that on the online channels. What we are trying to do now, and it's quite a bold move, is to use AI to connect the customers and what they are trying to search for with the right products. In the first instance, what we are doing is fairly simple. So we are using Agentforce RAG infrastructure, and we are grounding the Agentforce agent into our catalog and doing the semantic similarity search according to what customer asks for and getting an enhanced recommendation. what we see already is that this not only drives a bigger emotional connection, but also the customers can feel seen and drive more loyalty and cross-selling opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there's some really interesting things, especially around how you're already leveraging the catalog to make this emotional connection. Could you just maybe share with the audience a little bit about the types of data that you're leveraging to really make sure that you're training AI to get that unique customer experience for Pandora?
Yes, and we are trying to do a bit of a bold move, as you know already, and I'm going to explain to the audience. So we are using the basic things, so product, catalog, the what customers bought already, etc. All our recommendations. That is what we call like very vanilla. But we are trying to push the boundaries because what we are trying to do now, and we are doing a big effort in collecting this information from our impressive sales assistants, is we are trying to do a big data collection effort and understanding what drives the successful sale and what are the journey, what are the steps. Of course, we have the selling ceremony that everyone knows, but sales assistants don't follow truly that. And we know that. And we're trying to actually tap into what is the moment that you cross-sell. What do you ask for? What do you do when they are ready to sell? How do you actually understand that moment? And what we're trying to do is doing that data collection and put that back into our Agentforce agent and try to mirror this experience, what we call the magic of the in-store experience, on our online channels.
Fabulous, thank you. And it's really clear that you're taking a very sophisticated approach here around AI and data. So congratulations on that. I guess many companies are facing the same challenge, and AI brings with it a whole host of kind of technical complexities, large AI, technical stacks. Could you share a little bit with the audience as well, just about how you're leveraging Salesforce and Agentforce to really help you on this journey?
100%, and we couldn't do it without Agentforce. But just to tell that we have been doing AI at Pandora and machine learning for 6 years. So it's not that we don't have the technology stack. And it's a little bit because of that. We know the complexity of building the stack, maintaining the technology stack, and having to follow this plane that already departed quite long ago. That has been so hard. And for the first time, because we didn't want to invest a whole different technology stack on the RAG infrastructure, that we thought, okay, but what we want to do is so strategic, and we want to have this space and resources to invest on the sales experience on the agent. We believe that we couldn't do it without having the platform already pre-built, because at this point we'll be worrying about having the right database, having the right testing center, having the right evaluation frameworks for production data. And now we don't have to worry about any of that. We can only focus on collecting the data and actually making the agent special for Pandora.
Amazing. And I think that's it. How can you add value and really bring this to the forefront at Pandora? Final question, as we're coming to the end of our session here, kind of what have been the kind of key takeaways that you've taken from this journey, and what would you offer as kind of top tips to the audience that want to embark on a similar journey to Pandora?
My advice is twofold. First of all, think about AI as the technology that drives outcomes. You really need to tap into what the technology can do for your company. As I said, for Pandora, it's about storytelling. What can we drive from a sales experience? How can we leverage the storytelling capabilities of AI, this ability to speak and have natural language as a resource now? Find that beyond just using the technology for sake of the technology. And last but not least, think about enabling your teams. Invest on literacy, because the reality is this is the floor for the technology, not the ceiling. And if you don't invest that now, you won't have enough time to bring that as a strategic enabler for your company, because it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, thank you so much for joining us today, Katarina. I'm sure your insights are extremely valuable, and I've really appreciated learning more as well. So thank you so much. Massive round of applause for Katarina, everyone. Great. So it's literally down to me, last few seconds to take us home. Firstly, if you want to get started with Agentforce, scan the QR code on the screens behind me. That will give you access to our developer edition at no cost, so be amazing to get started there. We also have so many more Agentforce sessions, so please make your way to the IT Lodge. A lot of my team are there who will be able to help and support with any follow-up questions. We are so grateful for you joining us today, and yeah, a massive thank you for participating at World Tour. Thank you, everyone.